It has been said that she may have been a practitioner of something called critical theory. This is a mixture of atheism with radical leftist activist kind of stuff. Nietzsche. I mean, it's Marx to the extreme. She was also a supporter of Adlai Stevenson, the former Illinois governor and presidential candidate. During the late 1950s, Stevenson campaigned on the aggressive liberal agenda he dubbed the New America. Change, fundamental change for a new America. Dunham later left to Hawaii to travel to Indonesia for a second time, and then she left her son to move to Pakistan. She left her son with her parents. This is the second time this poor little boy was left by a parent. Left with these people. His grandparents. I'm sure his grandparents back in Hawaii were great. I mean, Obama has portrayed his mother's parents as conservative Methodist and Baptist from Kansas. There's a problem with that. At some point they changed, because when they lived in Washington State, these two, his mom's parents, were members of the East Shore Unitarian Church. This is a left-leaning congregation in Bellevue near Seattle. I grew up in the Seattle area. I know about this part of history. I didn't know these people attended it, but I know about this part of history. The Chicago Tribune mentions a description of grandparents' church here. Barack Obama, mother, not just a girl from Kansas. They mention it as the Little Red Church on the Hill. This is what I remember it as growing up in the Seattle area. According to its own website, the East Shore Unitarian Church got that name because of well-publicized debates and forums on such controversial subjects as the admission of Red China to the United Nations. John Stenhouse, a local communist and a former chairman of the Mercer Island School Board, the Little Red School, also happened to serve as the church president, possibly contributing to the red label. So, let me recap. Obama's childhood and formative years. Here's his parents, here's his dad, radical communist. He leaves this boy only to return once. He goes to Kenya to advise them of redistribution of wealth. His mom, we believe to be a critical thinker, a critical theory follower, which is Marxism. She leaves him to go to Indonesia, leaves him with the parents, who are just these great people, and I'm sure they are. But let's look at their philosophies. They go where? They raise him through his formative high school years. These people used to go to the Little Red Church. Okay. I'm sure, like most of us, Barack Obama has tender feelings for his grandparents and his parents. And they all may be fantastic people. I'm not judging them. I am trying to give you a look at his influences. We're trying to discover who Barack Obama is by looking into his foundation. What is his foundation? Obama's grandfather recognized that Barack had been abandoned by his dad and his mom. Now, according to Barack Obama's, in his own words, in his own book, Barack was struggling with his racial identity. Grandpa, being a decent grandpa, noticed this. So what did Grandpa do? He introduced him to a poet that he knew living in Hawaii, who, according to Barack Obama, was a strong black male influence in his life. He could mentor his grandson. That's what he did. Good for him. The problem is, who was that strong figure? The mentor during his impressionable teen years? Obama in his book only identified him as Frank in his memoir, and because no journalist here in America will do their job, it took a guy in New Zealand, a researcher, a blogger, finally to uncover and publish who the mentor was. It was this man, Frank Marshall Davis. Frank, the reason why he didn't put Marshall Davis there is because he was a black poet and communist with an FBI file. So nothing to see here, right? Just move along. I mean, no wonder the mainstream media hasn't given an ounce of credibility to any claims of socialism. To me, it is amazing to me. This kid didn't have a chance to be rooted in the founding fathers. This guy doesn't have a chance to actually think anything but radical thoughts based on everybody in his life so far who's defending capitalism. But then Barack Obama goes to college. Now here's how he described the company, in his words, that he kept in school.
To avoid being mistaken for such a sellout, I chose my friends carefully. The more politically active black students, the foreign students, the Chicanos, the Marxist professors.
Okay. This is time when he changes his name from Barry to Barack. He goes to college. After college, after going with the Marxist professors and the radicals, he joins a church. This guy's church. A church which is radical liberation theology, Marxism. Please look it up, America. Black liberation theology. This was led by Jeremiah Wright. Now, Barack Obama didn't just join this church, he stayed there for 20 years. He and Michelle were married by Reverend Wright. His children were baptized by him. We obviously have hashed and rehashed all the Jeremiah Wright rantings. We don't need to do that again. You know who this guy is. But why is it when you have this guy as a spiritual advisor, no one in the media will touch on his new spiritual advisor, who we will touch on, more than touch on, in a minute? But I got to go back to his past. I mean, there must be all kinds of evidence that this man changed. When? When did he change? When? I mean, remember, we started this segment with him proclaiming that he is an ardent free market believer. When? When? Who did you learn that from? Who? Who? It's beyond reason. I mean, unless we have, maybe there's just plenty of evidence that fully supports businesses that drive the economy, employ millions of Americans by bringing in large profits. Maybe there's evidence that he likes people who make profit. As an ardent free market president, we'd expect him to see him singing the praises of successful capitalists, celebrating the titans of industry, generally encouraging the principles that made America the beacon of opportunity for hundreds of millions of immigrants over the last 200 years. The discussion of, is this guy a socialist or a Marxist, is meaningless. It's as stupid as the argument we had 10 years ago when we were arguing, yes, he did. No, he didn't do that with that woman. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. Oh, yes, I did. Oh, doesn't matter. It does matter. It does matter. America knew the answer, that he did do it with that woman, and it does matter because character matters, and we know the answer now. He is a socialist. He is. The question now must be, does it matter? When you build the house, the first thing you do is pour a foundation. He wants to fundamentally transform this country. He's the architect, and they're building something. We know what his foundation is. What is he building on that foundation? We'll look into that next. Tonight, I wanted to spend the time with you answering the president's claim that no one has anything to back up calling him a socialist. Why are we in the name game? I want you to know that all of the evidence presented tonight and more, it will be available in my free email newsletter at glennbeck.com. I wanted to put together a one-sheet for you of everything that you need to know. I want you to pass this around. Make a commitment to pass it around to 10 friends. Let them decide for themselves. Don't take my word for it. Please, do your own homework. Use this show as a jumping-off point. Do your own homework. Beware of deceptions on both sides. But let's have the conversation. I mean, can I ask you a serious question? When did referring to someone as a socialist become akin to calling somebody a racist name? I mean, I understand the meaning of racist words and the hurt there, but socialism is not that. That's a political ideology defined by certain discernible characteristics. And if somebody points out those characteristics, you're pointing out a political viewpoint or policy. I'm not pointing to something personal.